smell and teeth.
So, this week I'd like to discuss a guilty pleasure I have.
Really?
Well, yes, it's a confession. I like Bond, James Bond.
Which one?
Well, I don't want to discuss which one I like, because then you might all just giggle at me.
Okay.
But I do like it, and this week there was a track released linked to the latest Bond movie. So I stayed up very late and I listened to it, and we discussed it at length, and I'm not going to discuss the singer who sung it, and I don't want to discuss the track because it wasn't maybe... well, I might as well just say it wasn't what I wanted from the track. But it got us talking about vocals, and you talked about little bees and teenagers taking trash out and the sound of it. That then...
That's going to make no sense to anybody whatsoever, that. When I listened to her, I said it sounds like she's gargling bees.
Okay.
I think her attitude... We're on about Billie Eilish here again,
Yes.
aren't we? Her attitude when she's singing it is like when you ask a teenager to take the trash out. It's like, I don't want to take it out. She just has that attitude, doesn't it? And I know that kids love that, but for me, I just don't find it as fascinating in her voice. She sounds very lethargic and pissed off, like she doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, and it wasn't what I had wanted from the Bond soundtrack, but that's my opinion. And listening to that, though, and talking to you, it got me thinking about things, and I always give these the wrong name. I know it, and you're going to laugh at me. I always call them the VR mic, because I've been reading about them on social media. So I wanted to talk to you about the VR mic, but
What's the VMS mic, not the VR mic. It's not a virtual hairbrush in front of a mirror.
Oh, I always imagine they've got the hairbrush and they've got those big googly things on their face. So, the VMS mic. Could you explain it to me? As seen as, explain that it's not one of these googly things with a hairbrush.
No, it's not. Virtual microphone systems. There's a couple of companies that do the virtual microphone systems. I know Townsend Labs.
Yeah.
I believe it's Townsend. I couldn't get my tongue around that one. And Slate Digital do what's called the VMS microphone system. The idea is that everybody has a very different voice.
Uh-huh.
And what you're going to find is that one microphone does not suit all voices.
Okay.
So what we tend to do is in professional studios, we have, as you know, we've got
Yes.
our microphone cabinet downstairs. Mm-hmm. We've got a number of microphones. And when we get a vocalist in, we tend to switch and change between different microphones to find which gives the best response to that vocalist. Now, I was reading something recently on, I think it was Bobby Owinski's site, and he's saying, oh, a microphone's only 20% of the sound. I disagree.
20%'s a lot, though.
Well, I'd still disagree with that. I'd say when you're recording vocals, a microphone can give you 50 to 60% of the sound because, vocalists can hear it. When you record them through various microphones, they'll sit there and go, I like that sound. That is me. These other ones sound a bit shrill or a bit boomy or
I'd agree,
whatever.
because as an audiologist, clients hear the microphones through hearing aids, and everything sounds different. So it's different microphones. Definitely, you're right.
Yeah.
20% isn't
So
enough.
the whole idea is they supply you with this very neutral sounding microphone and this neutral sounding preamplifier, because we've got to use a preamplifier to amplify the gain. And you tend to find that preamps add a little bit of colour as well. So you've got colour from the microphone, colour from the preamp, and that gives you your sound. In this case, it's a very neutral sounding microphone, a very neutral sounding preamp, and then you have a piece of software, and you put this software in, this iLock protected software, and then you flick through the different microphones. And by flicking through these different microphones, you say, oh, how does this talent sound through a Neumann U87? How does this talent sound through a Neumann U47? How does this talent sound through an AKG C12? How does she sound through a Telefunken M251? So you're going through thousands and thousands of pounds of microphones that are modelled in software, so you can kind of impart that onto your vocalist and get the right sound.
Now that has just pricked my interest, is the business side of me and looking after the studio.
Absolutely fucking
You
not.
know exactly where I'm going, don't you?
We're not getting a VMS system. No, not at all.
So we're not going to get rid of the the microphones and buy one? You don't think it's appropriate for a professional studio?
No, I don't. I don't think, for numerous reasons, I don't think it's suitable for a professional studio. And in fact, with a lot of Stephen Slate's gear, I struggle, not with his software, but with his hardware. I kind of struggle trying to figure out who it's aimed at, because a lot of it seems very superfluous. Look at the MTI, the Slate Raven MTI2, which was a touchscreen system. I looked at that and I fell for it and thought, oh yeah, that is great.
You loved that.
I like the idea of it. You can touch and you can move things. But after using it, you're just like, I can do this with a fucking mouse. It's easy with a mouse. What the fuck have I got this for? So now it's just a monitor to me. Yeah. And I feel the same with the VMS. It feels like a superfluous thing. A professional studio wouldn't use it.
Okay, so if they're not for a professional studio, who are they aimed at?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure who it's aimed at. I mean, of course, you might have people at home who are saying, oh, well, I can't afford £18,000 for this Telefunken M251. I can't afford to pay $3,000 on a Neumann U87 or whatever. But then again, I mean, picture yourself, you're sat at home, yeah? You know, and you're knocking out these beats, and all of a sudden there's a knock at your door. So you're running downstairs, you open the door, and there's J-Lo.
Oh my gosh, you live on the block, do you?
Well, yeah, she obviously does. She lives on your block. You know, and you open the door and she goes, hey, I just been listening to your music, and you know, I think you're sounding quite.
She's got an Irish accent.
I don't know why she's Irish. She can't do the American accent.
I would imagine she's as Irish as I am.
Well, I can't do an American accent, so that's going to have to do. We'll say she's been hiding out in Ireland or somewhere. We said, I'd like to record with you because I heard your beats coming out of the window. So you bring her in, and you say, well, here's a glass of water and a couple of biscuits, because, you know, you're polite. But, you know, and you take her up to the bedroom to record, and you're like, Mum, turn Casualty down, because I don't want, like, you know, somebody screaming coming through J-Lo's track. And you're going to sit there and you're going to start recording her. Yeah, so the thing is, I mean, J-Lo might go, I sound best through an M251, you know. So you're going to record her through this M251. In reality, this isn't going to happen. You're not going to record these famous pop stars in your bedroom. If anything, you're going to record Tracy two doors down, aren't you? She did a good karaoke gig at the Dog and Duck last week. That's who you're going to be recording. And I think as we spoke about last week, from bedroom to stardom isn't this magical leap. It's all very well planned, prepared, and expensive manoeuvre to make. So you're not going to be recording some famous artists. Why the fuck do you need to go through an M251 or a U87 or something? You just need to record a good fucking idea. And even if you record a good fucking idea, to get that idea to the right ears is a massive leap.
It is.
So again, I think it's quite a superfluous kind of product that doesn't really have a market apart from people out there who are thinking, yeah, well, I can sound like I've gone through an M251. And I'll tell you now that...
It's like dinner party stuff, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I can tell you...
don't do dinner parties anymore, but it's like when you're at Costa and you can say, I have this.
Yeah, but nobody on Beatport's going to go, fucking hell, have you heard that M251 that he's recorded through there? If it's not going to happen, you're not going to get on SoundCloud and go, fucking hell, man, oh, that's awesome, M251, oh, you got a U87, man, yeah, rocking. It's unrealistic.
So, do they actually sound any good?
No.
Why
now,
not?
I'm going against all the reviewers here because we actually got one.
Yeah,
we got one for 2 weeks and we gave it a go.
Yeah.
Now, the big thing I found is that when you're recording on axis, when the microphone's pointing right at you and you record into it, it's okay. It has the flavour of some of the microphones. Some are very good, some are less than good. Mm-hmm. Some of them are actually quite poor. But the thing is, when we're recording a vocalist, we're not always recording on axis. And a lot of the time, we're recording off axis with a microphone. We'll turn it slightly away. Now, a typical example say we've got a vocalist in, a female vocalist, and she's quite bright and sibilant. I'll turn it slightly off axis. Yeah. Now, the reason I turn it off axis is we lose some of the high frequencies to the room. So it picks up the room and it picks up some of the vocalists, and we lose high frequencies. If I've got a guy in who's singing, I'll tilt it more to his chest to get that chesty feel. So we don't point a microphone at somebody's mouth straight away and just start recording. We tend to move off axis slightly to get the right sound, the positioning. And the thing is that as soon as you did that with the Slate, it lost all contour altogether. It just didn't sound anything like it should. And the problem with that is because when he's modelled them, he's obviously done it in a very silent room, and he's done it dead on axis. Well, when you try and apply that to a microphone that's slightly off axis, it doesn't sound right. It tries to bring back what you've taken away deliberately, and the software messes up and it doesn't work. And this is what reviewers have missed. The fact that, oh, I'm just going to record it on axis. Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, turn it off axis like you do with most people that you're going to record.
That's using software. And I am always a bit nervous about software, as you know, because we get updates on our Macs all the time. And when we get an update, we then have to hope and pray that all our plugins are updated. So is this a concern, or is it something I wouldn't need to worry about? If I spent all my pennies on this special VMS.
You know this is a pet peeve of mine, don't you? Yeah, I fucking hate hardware that relies on software. I can't stand it. It's why most of our converters are standalone.
Yeah.
You've got to think that this company, I can understand the manufacturers, they want to make money. Now, you've got to consider this VMS system, right? You've got to consider that it's going to reach this peak point and then it's going to start to go downhill.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, as soon as it starts to go downhill, they're going to lose money. They're not going to make money out of it anymore. So they're going to go, let's release version 2. So all of a sudden, version 1's outdated. We're no longer supporting version 1, it's now version 2. So we've got to worry about how they update their software and how quickly. And if we look at Slate's previous record, I don't know about Townsend Labs who have done theirs, but if we look at Slate's previous record, it's took them nearly 7 months to update to Catalina.
Right, that's a long time.
Yeah, so you've gone 7... Say you had to update to Catalina. I never do, but let's say for an emergency we had to update to Catalina because Logic... Apple released something.
Yeah, things happen, we have to update, and then that's it.
So we're on Catalina. We've now got to wait 7 months before our microphone works again.
Well, what if we have somebody that's called back?
Well, exactly. You got a recall on a vocalist. How are you going to record it then? You're like, well, I'm sorry, mate. I can't record you until Slate decide to update my drivers. It can't. I mean, we're here. We're recording here through a Neumann U87. Now, I can guarantee you in 30 years' time, unless I'm quite heavy-handed with it, which I'm not.
No.
In 30 years' time, I'm still going to be using this same fucking microphone. I bet in 3 years' time nobody's using the VMS, or it's the VMS Part 2, or Part 3, or Part 4 or something, which costs you another whatever it costs. I think it's
so when you add it up
so.
over the years, you're actually saving money probably, buying the, not going down the VMS route. Initially you think you're saving money going down the VMS route, and over time you're probably not.
No, I don't think you are. I think if you choose I mean, again, it's this home studio shit, isn't it? If you're recording in your home studio, you are not having different vocalists coming in and out every day. You're either recording yourself or, as I say, you're recording Tracy 2 doors down.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to know her voice. Get the right fucking microphone for her voice. And you don't need 30 other fucking microphones unless you're running a professional studio. And a professional studio knows that you record off-axis and that the VMS system doesn't work as well off-axis. So who's it aimed at?
No, and then that brings me to ask you a question about hardware, because I know initially the mics we buy might be a couple of £1,000 and things
on the rest.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be conservative, but a lot of these VMS systems are under £1,000. So it makes my mind wonder about the topology of the microphones. The cost of all of that.
Yeah. I mean, the VMS system, as I say, is about £800. I think.
Yeah.
The microphone we're recording on here is about £2,500-3,000, and then we're going through a Manley Tube preamp down there in the main studios, which is another £4,000. So you said we're going through a £7,000 system here just to record a fucking podcast. But I'm getting my money's worth, God damn it.
And I'm worth it.
But we're going through a very expensive chain here. Now, when we consider, the things you've got to consider with microphone designs is that when people design microphones, you have to consider what's going on with what you're recording. Because the first thing we're going to get is sonic reflections within the housing of the microphone. And then we're going to get the natural resonant frequency of the capsule. So these are things that when you're talking about very expensive microphones, these go into the R&D and the development. We try and reduce the resonances and the reflections and things like that. When you've got this microphone, $800, and you get a preamp with it,
wow,
you're getting an awful lot there.
Yeah.
And you're getting the software as well. It's like, I'm not so sure that the parts using this microphone are really of that higher quality, and you're relying more on the software part of it.
And would you say there are any other things that we need to consider? So because we talked about the software, we've talked about the hardware. Is there anything else that you think that we should be looking at when we're recording vocals?
Yes, commitment. This is my biggest fucking bugbear with it all.
Yeah, but nobody wants to commit to anything anymore.
Yeah, and that's why we're stuck in this 16-bar loop of continual looping of shitness. It's because I'm going to sound old again, and I fucking hate saying this, but...
Well, you are old, but go on, don't worry.
Yeah, I am. I'm not that old.
Well, hang on. No, you've got to say that relatively.
Well, it's perspective, innit? I mean, I suppose anybody 18 is listening to this. In the Tudor times, we used to throw shit out of the window. No, but I mean, the thing is, I used to, back in the day, if I go back, when I first started doing all this, it was a case of commitment. You know, if a vocalist came in or a bassist came in or whatever, you would choose the right microphone. That's it. We would choose the right microphone. We'd choose the compression. We'd choose the right preamp, and you would record it, and you would commit at that source. And if it was wrong, you learnt your lesson fucking quickly, because it was a recall that was very expensive. But you had to commit. And I think the problem we've got today is there's no fucking commitment with anyone. It's like, oh, I'll put this compressor on. Oh, I don't like it. I'm going to change it to this compressor. Oh, I don't like it. I'll change it to this compressor. Oh, I don't like it. I'll change it to this compressor. And it's becoming the same now, frighteningly, with microphones. Oh, I don't like that microphone. I'm going to change it. Oh, I don't like that microphone. I'm going to change it. And when we don't commit and we have that option of unlimited undo and unlimited options to change to this and change that, we never commit to anything. And when we don't commit to things, we don't finish things. This is why I'm always saying in the courses, in our video courses, when you have something, when you do a kick drum, when you do a snare drum, commit it, bounce it. Yeah. That is it. You are stuck with it. And if it's a mistake, it's a fucking mistake you live with and you learn from, rather than 5 minutes in you go, I don't like that kick anymore. I'm going to change the compressor on it. And now I'm going to change the EQ on it. And now I'm going to change this on it. And now I'm going to change that on it. And you fuck about and you spend hours and hours and hours going back to a kick. No, and you fuck about. You spend all your time going around in circles. If you commit and you have committed to something, you can't change it. I will stick with that. Was my decision. That was my initial decision. I felt it was right at the time. That's how we become producers. We commit and we learn. We train our ears. And if we make a mistake, we learn from that in the next track. But when we have all these unlimited options to change things, we lose it. When we have unlimited options, we lose creativity.
What I was going to say about the creativity, isn't music a little bit about capturing that moment? So, you want to capture the moment, the feel of it all. And if you can constantly just change it, you're not actually capturing a moment. You're just basically doing a boring recording, and then you're doing loads of alterations to it. It's just not.
We tend to clean things up too much now. We tend to say, oh well. I mean, when you're recording a vocalist, I listen intently to every single tone in the voice, the way that the tone changes, the emotion in them. You're listening so intently. And with something like the VMS system now, this Townsend, because I don't just want to promote Slate, there's also the Townsend system, I think it is. You're not having to listen as much. It's kind of like, well, it doesn't matter. Because when it gets in my door, I'm going to fuck about with it, and then I'll change the microphone if it's not right. Rather than thinking, is this microphone right now? Does it capture the right tonality for the talent's voice? Does it capture the right feeling? Have I got the right presence? Is there too much brightness in there? Is there too much darkness in there? Because positioning of your microphone is a form of EQ. And when we're recording something such as a vocal or perhaps an instrument, the positioning of the microphone is a case of, so I don't have to revert to EQ, I try and capture it right at the source. Because then I don't have to fuck about later. I know I've got it right then. But as soon as we start using VMS systems and we can change and we can alter and we can move, we don't do that anymore. And we're not committing anything, and we lose part of capturing that moment into, I'm going to edit it into perfection.
Yeah, so when I've got my bedroom set up, and I've got my Mac, and I've got my monitors set up, I'm going to ask you a question you might be able to answer or not. Could you recommend a startup mic to me?
What we have to do when we're talking about microphones is you have to choose a microphone that works with the voice you're recording or the source you're recording. Now, the more expensive the microphone gets, the more likely it is to work with more sources, which is why the Neumann U87 is considered a fantastic microphone, because it will work well on 90% of sources.
Right.
And then if we go to the cheap end of the scale, we start looking at I know a lot of people rave about the Studio Electronics, but I think they're a right load of shit. They have a really brittle mid-range. If we record through an SE microphone, it's only going to work with 10% of people or 10% of sources. Before you listen to it and kind of think, it's sounding brittle, it's got that upper mid horribleness. And when you get things like that, it doesn't sit in the track, it sits on top of the track.
We've chatted a lot today about vocals, and I'd just like to round up what we've talked about. We've talked about the fact that I'm not going out and buying a VMS mic.
Fuck no. No offence to Stephen Slater or Townsend Labs or anything like that. If you really want to use it, but
Yeah.
don't record off access.
No. And because we're going to keep the mics we've got, we're going to commit to a sound that we hear.
Always commit. The same when you're doing a kick drum. You do a kick drum, a snare, bass line, anything. As soon as you got your processor on there, commit the fucking thing and move on.
Yeah.